It was just after midnight on September 26, 1983, inside a secret Soviet command bunker hidden deep within the forests outside Moscow. The room glowed with the cold light of computers and radar screens, each one connected to a vast early warning system designed for a single purpose: detecting nuclear war. Suddenly, a piercing alarm shattered the silence. Red letters flashed across the giant screen. Missile launch detected. According to the Soviet satellite system, the United States had just launched a nuclear strike. In that moment, the fate of the world rested in the hands of one man sitting in the control room. Lieutenant Colonel Stanislav Petrov. Visual suggestion: dark command center, glowing Soviet-era computers, tense operators turning toward flashing alarms. Close-ups of red warning lights and radar displays. For decades, the Cold War had kept the world balanced on the edge of annihilation. After the Second World War, two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, emerged as rivals locked in a global ideological struggle. Both nations possessed enormous nuclear arsenals capable of destroying the planet many times over. Each side believed the other might strike first at any moment. To prevent surprise attacks, both countries built vast early warning systems designed to detect incoming missiles within seconds. These systems were linked to protocols that demanded immediate retaliation. If an enemy strike was confirmed, the response would be swift and devastating. Entire cities could vanish in minutes. Humanity had created a machine of war so powerful that even a small mistake could trigger the end of civilization. Visual suggestion: archival footage of Cold War propaganda, nuclear missile tests, mushroom clouds, and maps showing US and Soviet nuclear arsenals. By 1983, tensions between the superpowers had reached one of their most dangerous peaks since the Cuban Missile Crisis. Just weeks earlier, the Soviet Union had shot down Korean Airlines Flight 007 after it accidentally entered Soviet airspace, killing all 269 passengers aboard. The world was outraged. The United States condemned the act as barbaric, while the Soviet leadership feared retaliation and sabotage. Military forces on both sides were on high alert. NATO was preparing military exercises that Soviet leaders worried might mask a real attack. Suspicion and fear filled the atmosphere of global politics. In such an environment, even a single misunderstood signal could ignite nuclear war. Inside the Serpukhov 15 Early Warning Command Center that night, Stanislav Petrov was not expecting history to call his name. He was a trained officer in charge of monitoring the Soviet satellite detection system known as OKO. The system watched for the heat signatures of ballistic missiles launched from the United States. Petrov's job was straightforward, at least in theory. If the system detected a missile attack, he had to report it immediately up the chain of command. Within minutes, Soviet leadership could order a retaliatory strike that would unleash thousands of nuclear warheads toward American cities. It was a procedure designed for speed, not hesitation. Visual suggestion: satellite animation showing infrared missile detection, Soviet control panels, Petrov reviewing reports. Then, without warning, the alarm erupted. A loud siren echoed through the command center. On the screen, the system displayed the worst message imaginable: a US intercontinental ballistic missile had been launched toward the Soviet Union. Operators froze in shock. Seconds later, the system updated again. Not one missile, but several. 5 incoming missiles were now detected by the satellite network. Visual suggestion: flashing computer text, launch, operators looking at screens in panic. According to protocol, Petrov had only minutes to act. The computers were telling him that nuclear war had begun. Every second mattered. If the warning was real and he delayed, the Soviet Union could lose precious time to retaliate before its own missiles were destroyed. Yet if the warning was false and he reported it as real, the Soviet leadership might launch a full nuclear counterstrike based on incorrect information. The fate of hundreds of millions of lives balanced on his judgment. Petrov stared at the screen. Something did not feel right. Visual suggestion: slow zoom on Petrov's face, sweat on his forehead, tense silence. The computer system insisted the missiles were real, but Petrov knew the technology was new and had never been fully tested under real combat conditions. More importantly, the scenario itself seemed strange. Why would the United States launch only 5 missiles? A real nuclear first strike would involve hundreds, perhaps thousands, designed to overwhelm defenses and guarantee destruction. 5 missiles made no strategic sense. Still, the alarms continued screaming. Visual suggestion, satellite tracking graphics, countdown clock overlay. Petrov's training told him to trust the system. The protocol demanded that he report an attack immediately. Officers above him were waiting for confirmation. If he hesitated, he could face court-martial or worse. In the rigid hierarchy of the Soviet military, failing to follow protocol was a serious offense. Yet Petrov relied on something more powerful than protocol, human judgment. He made a decision that would echo through history. Petrov reported the alarm as a false warning. Visual suggestion, tense silence in control room, Petrov picking up the phone slowly. For several agonizing minutes, the entire command center waited. If the missiles were real, Soviet radar stations on the ground would soon detect them approaching over the horizon. The clocks ticked forward. The operators watched their screens in near silence. If Petrov had been wrong, the missiles would soon begin appearing on radar, and by then it would be too late. But the radar screens remained empty. Visual suggestion, sweeping radar display showing nothing detected. Minute after minute passed. No missiles appeared. The terrifying alert slowly faded from the screens. Eventually, the truth became clear. There had been no attack. The satellite system had made a catastrophic mistake. Later investigations revealed what had happened. The OCO satellite system had misinterpreted sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds above North Dakota. The reflection created a pattern that the system's sensors mistakenly identified as the launch plume of ballistic missiles. The computers had done exactly what they were programmed to do. They detected what appeared to be missile launches and sounded the alarm. But the machines had been wrong. Visual suggestion, animation showing sunlight reflecting off clouds and confusing satellite sensors. Had Petrov followed the official protocol and reported the attack as real, the Soviet military command could have responded immediately. In the tense atmosphere of 1983, leaders might have believed the United States was launching a surprise nuclear strike. The Soviet Union could have retaliated with its entire nuclear arsenal before confirming the attack. American early warning systems would then detect Soviet launches and respond in turn. Within hours, much of the world could have been reduced to radioactive ruins. Visual suggestion, simulated nuclear launches from both sides, global map showing missile trajectories. Instead, one officer trusted his instincts over the machine. Petrov later described the moment with remarkable calm. He said that he simply had a feeling that the system was wrong. The data did not make sense, and he believed a real attack would look very different. In truth, his decision required extraordinary courage. Disobeying protocol inside a nuclear command structure was almost unthinkable. Yet Petrov chose to think like a human being rather than a machine. Visual suggestion, interview footage of Petrov, quiet reflective music. For many years, the incident remained secret. Soviet authorities did not celebrate Petrov's decision. In fact, they criticized aspects of his report, partly to avoid exposing weaknesses in their early warning system. The story remained hidden until the 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when former officials revealed what had happened that night. Visual suggestion, declassified documents, Cold War archives opening. Visual suggestion, tense silence in control room, Petrov picking up the phone slowly. For several agonizing minutes, the entire command center waited. If the missiles were real, Soviet radar stations on the ground would soon detect them approaching over the horizon. The clocks ticked forward. The operators watched their screens in near silence. If Petrov had been wrong, the missiles would soon begin appearing on radar, and by then it would be too late. But the radar screens remained empty. Visual suggestion, sweeping radar display showing nothing detected. Minute after minute passed. No missiles appeared. The terrifying alert slowly faded from the screens. Eventually, the truth became clear. There had been no attack. The satellite system had made a catastrophic mistake. Later investigations revealed what had happened. The OCO satellite system had misinterpreted sunlight reflecting off high-altitude clouds above North Dakota. The reflection created a pattern that the system's sensors mistakenly identified as the launch plume of ballistic missiles. The computers had done exactly what they were programmed to do. They detected what appeared to be missile launches and sounded the alarm. But the machines had been wrong. Visual suggestion, animation showing sunlight reflecting off clouds and confusing satellite sensors. Had Petrov followed the official protocol and reported the attack as real, the Soviet military command could have responded immediately. In the tense atmosphere of 1983, leaders might have believed the United States was launching a surprise nuclear strike. The Soviet Union could have retaliated with its entire nuclear arsenal before confirming the attack. American early warning systems would then detect Soviet launches and respond in turn. Within hours, much of the world could have been reduced to radioactive ruins. Visual suggestion, simulated nuclear launches from both sides, global map showing missile trajectories. Instead, one officer trusted his instincts over the machine. Petrov later described the moment with remarkable calm. He said that he simply had a feeling that the system was wrong. The data did not make sense, and he believed a real attack would look very different. In truth, his decision required extraordinary courage. Disobeying protocol inside a nuclear command structure was almost unthinkable. Yet Petrov chose to think like a human being rather than a machine. Visual suggestion, interview footage of Petrov, quiet reflective music. For many years, the incident remained secret. Soviet authorities did not celebrate Petrov's decision. In fact, they criticized aspects of his report, partly to avoid exposing weaknesses in their early warning system. The story remained hidden until the 1990s, after the collapse of the Soviet Union, when former officials revealed what had happened that night. Visual suggestion, declassified documents, Cold War archives opening.